Hello, hello, Bridgerton lovers! So today we are going to be talking about Bridgerton Season 1, Episode 3, The Art of Swoon. In this episode, we are going to see Daphne catch the eye of a royal suitor and ask advice from Simon for relationships. And then we are also going to see Lady Featherington try to marry off Marina in this episode. So for my makeup today, I did a look inspired by the Featherington family color palette, and I did a green eyeshadow for that. So let's get started. So we start the episode with Daphne dreaming about Simon, and of course, right as they are about to kiss is when Daphne wakes up. And then we find out from Lady Whistledown that Daphne has been proposed to by 3 different suitors in this past week, and she turned them all down. And everyone thinks it's because she's waiting for the Duke to propose. So we are now at the Featheringtons' house, where Penelope is impatiently waiting to see if Marina has received a letter from Sir George. And then so the post comes and they find out he didn't send a letter yet. So Penelope tells Marina to just be patient, but at this time Lady Featherington comes in and she yells at Penelope to get out, and then she tells Marina that she is going to re-enter society and they're going to find her a man to marry, so before anyone realizes the condition she's in. So in this next scene, we are at the first ball of the episode, and Simon shows up, but then Daphne is asked to dance by Lord Weaver, who she seems to find really boring, and she dances with a few other suitors, and Simon pretends to be jealous during all of this. But Daphne doesn't like any of the suitors that she's danced with so far. So in this next scene is where the Queen comes into the ball with a prince named Prince Friedrich, and all of the ladies are chatting with him and introducing themselves to him because he's a prince, so of course they all want to meet him. And then so Daphne and Simon are making fun of and mocking all of the ladies that are introducing themselves to the prince. And Simon makes a joke about how he's probably telling each and every one of them how beautiful their gowns are. And then the Queen brings the prince over to introduce him to Daphne, and she introduces Daphne as the diamond of the season. And then the prince tells Daphne how exquisite her gown is, which makes her laugh. So Daphne ends up snorting when she laughs, which is really funny, and it makes Simon laugh. But she ends up laughing and snorting at that because of the joke that Simon had told her just a little bit ago about the dresses, and how he thinks that's what the prince is saying to each and every one of them. So we are now at Modiste, where Sienna is talking to Genevieve, and they're talking about how they are nothing like the upper class women of this time, and Sienna says she wants to go find another man. So Sienna goes to the club, and Anthony is quite upset to see her, and she actually goes over and talks to Simon, the Duke of Hastings, trying to get him to pay attention to her, and she asks if he would like to come see one of her shows, and so they can meet up afterwards, and he agrees to meet her after her next show. So we are now at the Bridgertons, and Daphne can't sleep, and so she goes downstairs to make herself some more milk, and she runs into Anthony, and he asks if she wants to, him to get a servant to help. She says no, which is a bad idea, because then they go in to the kitchen, and they can't figure out how to light the stove to make themselves warm milk. So instead they drink the cold milk. Daphne asks Anthony why Simon is so opposed to getting married, and he said it's not something that you should be hearing. So, but all he tells her then is that he just didn't have a good upbringing or family, and that he prefers to be alone. We're now at Somerset, and all of the ladies are there, and they are kind of chatting away with the prince, trying to chat him up because everyone wants to try to catch the prince's eye. The Featheringtons are there, and they're trying to introduce Marina to this man named Lord Middlethorpe, and Penelope tries to help her by intervening, and her mom yells at her and tells her to go away, and then Marina gets really snippy and rude towards Lord Middlethorpe, so he gets upset and leaves. And then in this next part, Benedict Bridgerton is standing next to Lady Danbury talking about a painting, and he says he doesn't like it, and then she says, oh, why don't you tell the artist? And he's like, I can't tell the artist. But then the artist was standing right next to them, and he says, excuse me, I have to go find my wife, as Benedict is trying to apologize, and we will find out more about this character later in the season. So Prince Friedrich comes over to talk to Daphne then, and he tells her how beautiful she is, but then Simon catches Daphne's eye, so she makes up some excuse for the prince, and then she goes and follows Simon into another room where they're alone. So this is one of my favorite scenes from the episode. I really enjoyed this part. Daphne and Simon are in the other room, and they're talking about how Daphne is really enjoying messing with Lady Whistledown, and then they start talking about the paintings, because the one they're looking at was donated by Simon, but it's not like the other paintings. And Simon said, oh, well, the other paintings are, you know, some of my father's favorites, whereas this one here is my mother's favorite, but I don't understand why it's her favorite. And so Daphne explains to him that looking at that painting reminds her of waking up peaceful and alone before you even say a word once they're out in the country. And it's like being alone but not being alone, but not feeling lonely. And during this part is where their hands start to touch, and this is the part where I think they both like kind of fall in love with each other, or at least Simon falls in love with Daphne because of hearing how she interprets that painting. So when their hands finally do touch, though, there is a scream from the other room, and they go to see what that scream was about. So in the other room, the scream was from Cressida swooning, and the prince catches her, actually. Of course, I mean, why wouldn't he? And then we end this scene with Simon leaving Somerset House, and he actually decides not to go to the opera to meet with Sienna, which I think says a lot about his character here, that he chooses to not go see her after what happened with him and Daphne. So in this next scene, Lady Whistledown mentions that since Daphne isn't swooning over the prince, that the crown has possibly lost its dazzle, and it's not as special, which makes the queen upset. She tells Prince Friedrich that he needs to try harder in charming Daphne. So in this next part, Daphne and Simon are promenading, and they're discussing marriage and friendship. And Daphne's like, well, there has to be something else that, like, keeps a couple together? Something intangible or physical? And he said it's both, and she doesn't understand that. Because, yet again, these girls have had no sex education. They don't know anything about what they're about to get themselves into, which I think is kind of crazy. And I'm so glad we don't live during these times anymore. So she asks Simon to tell her, and he just says what happens between a man and a wife is the natural continuation of what happens when you are alone in bed at night. And Daphne says she doesn't understand. What does he mean? And he's like, you know, when you touch yourself. And she's like, well, I've never done that. I don't know what that means. Please explain it to me. So he explains to her what it is to touch yourself and how to do it. And this is the moment where, like, the sexual tension between Daphne and Simon is off the charts. Daphne is completely speechless during that. She doesn't know what to say. She doesn't know what any of that means. She's never been told or taught. She's never done anything like that. Because she is a perfect lady. So in this next scene, we see Eloise and Benedict out on the swing, smoking again, chatting about how they, you know, don't want to live the way they're told they should. And Eloise mentions that she saw his drawings and told him, you know, go take classes. You're a man, you can do what you want. If I were a man, I would be so happy. And then Benedict asks her if she is Lady Whistledown, and she says no. She said, even if I were, do you think I would admit it? Do you think she'd admit it if she was Lady Whistledown? So we are at the next scene where Daphne is getting ready for bed. Getting ready to touch herself, like Simon said. Simon says. Anyway. And while she is pleasing herself, we see flashes and pictures of her. And she is thinking about her and Simon together. So at this point now we know she, like, really likes him. She really wants to be with him, if only he wanted to get married, right? But he doesn't, so it's not a thing. So the next morning, she goes to meet Simon, and he tells her they can no longer keep up their ruse. He can't be with her and pretend any longer because she has the attentions of a prince, and he doesn't want to ruin that for her. Tells her they'd never been friends and that she was just a diversion and she needs to move on. And this really upsets Daphne because she was really looking to be with him. Even if she said it was just for her to find a suitor, she is, like, really looking to be with Simon. So we are at the Featherington house, and there is finally a letter from Marina from George. So Marina and Penelope are all excited to open it up and see what he says. But then they open it, and it says that there's nothing between them. He wants nothing to do with Marina, and he says that he's not going to take responsibility for her situation. Basically, he's not going to take responsibility for the baby. But then we see Lady Featherington and her lady's maid and find out that they actually forged that letter. So the last scene is at this last ball we see here. We see Cressida, who is chatting it up with the prince. Cressida is chatting with Prince Friedrich. Marina, she's back dancing, and she's dancing with some suitors to try and marry herself off now after she received that letter from George. And then Daphne shows up. Now I'm gonna go do my mascara really quick. So then Daphne shows up. She walks in looking gorgeous. She's owning it. She's like, yep, that's right, I'm the diamond of the season. She catches the eye of the prince, and he comes over and asks her to dance, and she just subtly drops her fan for him to pick up. We end the episode with Simon leaving tongue-tied because he doesn't know what to do or say, and he's actually quite jealous because I don't think he really wants to let Daphne go. The end of the episode, Lady Whistledown says, "Why settle for a duke when you can have a prince?" Right? So in this episode, we see Daphne and Simon growing closer together in this episode. And they're actually really enjoying each other and liking getting to know each other, and they seem to really be hitting it off. But since Simon doesn't want to get married, he ends it because he doesn't want Daphne to lose her chances at marrying a prince. I really enjoy that this episode ends with Daphne being like, that's right, I'm the diamond. I'm gorgeous. I deserve the prince. Especially after what Simon did to her. I've really been enjoying watching these characters get to grow into themselves and develop more. Comment below and let me know what your favorite part of the show is so far. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a really great day.